Okay, this is going to be a short video. We're going to be talking about Figma today and how to create a new design project. So when you're in Figma on the desktop app, when you go to your projects or the home button, then on the right hand side you'll see create new. However, when you're in the browser of Figma, you're going to get these icons up here at the top and you're going to find new design file. So you'll notice that there is design files, there's Fig boards, and there's slide decks. We are going to work with a new design file today. So I'm going to be working in the Figma desktop app, and I'm going to hit create new and I'm going to choose design file. For this particular design file, we are going to be working with a template that is an Instagram post. So when you first open up a new design file, on the left hand side, you're going to have the Figma logo, which is going to get you to options as far as like file, edit, view, object, text, arrange, and vector. So there's going to be a couple of options here that some of these options are going to look familiar if you've used some of the Adobe programs. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to name this file. So in this case, we're going to call it typographic hierarchy. And you are going to want to put your name in there. You'll notice also that there's an option here. It says file and assets. This is actually also showing you where it's being saved, which is not where I want to save it right now. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to put it into my fall 24-25. No, actually it's winter 24-25. And I'm just going to put it in here. And then I'm going to go back to it up here. So you'll notice that there's file and assets. For this, we're only going to create one page, and this is going to be this page we're going to title Paul Rand event, because this is what we're going to be creating in this particular new design file. So the first thing we want to do is achieve our size. So we're going to go down here to the bottom where you're going to see that there are a couple of different icons. The first one is just your move tool. You can also select your hand tool and your scale tool. You can achieve the hand tool by hitting the space bar at any time, which allows you to kind of move around your content. The next thing we're going to choose is the frame. You can see that you can create frames, sections, and slices. Then you have your shape tools, which give you rectangles, lines, arrows, ellipse, polygon, star, and image and video. You've got your pen tool and your pencil tool, and then you've got type, and you have the ability to comment. So if you are working collaboratively, this gives you a good way to communicate with other people. And then there's different actions, which we'll talk about later. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the frame tool, and over on the right hand side, basically Figma is going to give you a bunch of different templates that you can use. We're going to go to the social media template, and we are going to choose Instagram post because that's the size that we're going to be working with right now. So you'll notice that once you choose that frame, you've got lots of options over here on the right hand side. You can add a stroke, you can add effects to this, which we're not going to do right now, but you can kind of look at through all the different options that are there. What we're going to do first is we are going to grab our content. So for this, we're taking a particular advertisements for an event with a specific typographer, and we are going to put our text in here. So I'm just gonna, for right now, just create a text box by selecting the type tool and pasting that content in. I'm not going to leave all this text just like this because I want to use typographic hierarchy to kind of separate this text. So basically typographic hierarchy is using type to create order of importance with the content, and therefore get the reader to kind of look at that information first. For this particular project, you're welcome to kind of use vectors or even something that you've created in Photoshop. I'm going to kind of just show you, I'm arranging the type first, and then I'm going to add some content to my background. So I'm going to take this first bit. I'm going to create another text box. You can hit T on your keyboard. That's a shortcut to kind of get to that text box. I'm copying this and kind of separating the things that I think go together. So the location and the date are all sort of something that would go together. So I'm going to copy and paste that into another text box. And then this is kind of like a basic description of what the event is about. So obviously if we were designing this for an Instagram post, we would want it to be as eye-catching as possible. In this case, because we are talking about type, we want to kind of isolate the type and use that to be the draw and have any other imagery or anything like that secondary. So the first thing I'm going to do is address this, because this is essentially what this is about. So it's going to be the most important thing. There's lots of different ways that you can kind of identify something being more important than something else. I'm going to try this typeface, and I am also going to increase the size of this. So just like any other sort of word processing or anything like that, you would have lots of different options. So this particular typeface does not have any other options besides regular. It's also kind of looking a little too geometric for my liking. So I'm going to go in and kind of check out what other typefaces there are. Now this is going to allow me to kind of adjust the line height, because I kind of want these to be a little bit closer together. Now I want this information to be secondary, but I also want it to go along with this. So I'm going to try using the same typeface. Now I want these two things to kind of line up with one another. So I'm going to select both of them. And up here, I can adjust the positioning and kind of have that line up. Now this makes it feel like this needs to be a little bit larger. And I'm also going to bring the spacing between those a little bit down. I'll make them the same as... Now let's say for a second that I wanted my text down here to be the same as my text up here. One of the cool things, and actually let me change the color of that. So I'm going to change my fill, and I am going to kind of bring in like a navy color into the mix. Maybe I also kind of want to increase the spacing between the letters a little bit, which requires me to kind of stretch out my text box a little bit more. And I want all these same things that I've applied to the title to also apply to the text down here. So what I'm going to do is, while I have this selected, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to where it says copy paste as, and then I'm going to go down to where it says copy properties. And then I'm going to select this other text and I'm going to right click again. And this time I'm going to go to where it says copy paste as, and I'm going to choose paste properties. What that does is basically any settings that you had on that original text will also be applied to this text. Now that's too large, but I did just want to show you kind of how that works. So I'm going to make this text a little bit smaller, but it will keep a lot of those same attributes that were up above. So for instance, keeping kind of the spacing similar, and also the spreading out of the letters. And then on top of that, it also kept the color. Okay. Now this information is also very important, but I'm going to kind of give it a different treatment to make it stand out. In fact, I might even kind of create a fill on my text box. So I'm going to use a different typeface for this particular one. Kind of hoping to find something that has different weights to it. And that also complements the typeface that I'm using already. I want it to be that same color. So I already have, I'm going to take this eyedropper and actually just roll over that. And that way I can assure that it's the same color that I'm using in my other text. This does have different options, so you can see I can kind of go through. I am looking for italic and I'm looking for light, and I'm going to kind of put that a little bit bigger. And instead of having it aligned to the left, I'm actually going to have it aligned to the right. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to put this this part over here down a little bit in this corner. And I'm going to increase the size a little bit more. Maybe not that much. You can also just put a number directly in here. So for instance, I can just type in 30, and that looks pretty good for right now. So this design is fairly basic. The nice thing is that I can choose to kind of add shapes as well. So what I might do is I might take a rectangle and kind of block out this text. And so maybe instead of the text being the same color as the words up here, I'm going to use it just for the box. And then one of the things that you might be noticing right now is that I actually cannot see my text anymore. Make these corners a little rounded. And the reason for that is because if you look over here on your layers, the rectangle is actually in front of the text. So you should already kind of be familiar with layers at this point, and basically I just want to move that rectangle behind my text. Now, of course, my text is the same color, so I need to change the color of my text, and I'm going to make that a white. Now, one of the things that I can do is that I can kind of make my text box the size of my text, so that when I select both of these, I can actually center my text inside of that text box. Actually, it needs to be a little bit down. Then I also, because I think it's important, the location and the date are a little bit more important than the lecture series. What I'm going to do is I am going to take those and I am going to bold them a little bit. I'm going to say bold italic. Okay, so you can see how we can start to kind of like add a couple elements. Now, one of the things that I kind of want to do is I'm going to add some elements from Illustrator. I'm going to take this color that we used for both the text and the block, and I'm going to go into this fill, and down here where it says hex, I'm going to take that color and I am going to copy it. Okay, then I'm going to go over into Illustrator, and I've got this book illustration that I want to add, but I want it to be the same color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the fill and I'm going to paste that color in there. And then because this is a vector and I'm working in Figma, I actually, while I'm in Illustrator, can select the item that I want. I can copy it, and then I can go over into Figma and I can paste it in there. That'll paste in as a vector in the layers panel. Then I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I am going to kind of have it matching up with that there. And maybe this is going to kind of create a little bit of a different vibe, and I might instead make this a little bit smaller and kind of tuck it in here a little bit. Okay, so you'll notice that my content is like a little clipped here. I want to be able to see all of that. So I'm going to select this and go up here to layout and uncheck that clip content because I want to be able to see the entire thing. And then I'm going to kind of put my text right about here so that it lines up with that corner. And then I think that my title kind of needs to come down a little bit. All right, so this is one option for a design. I feel like it still needs a little something else. So what I might do is I might just add kind of like a color into the background. So I'm going to basically go to my frame and I'm going to change the background color to something like this, but a lot lighter. Oh. So for me, this content down here is standing out a little bit more than the content up here. And I think that has to do with the typeface. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the typeface from this one to the same as the one down here, which is Carla. So actually, you know, I'm going to highlight just kind of this bottom portion and I'm going to right click and I'm going to say that copy paste as and copy properties. This saves me a lot of time when I'm trying to quickly kind of do something. Now this is kind of also some of the properties that I didn't want, which I don't really want it to be aligned to the right. So I'm going to adjust that back and make it aligned to the left. And I think instead I'm going to bring it up here right underneath of the text. And I kind of like the way that it stands out in white. So I'm going to leave that and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I think I like the way that that looks. Now, I'm kind of tempted to see kind of what my vector would look like in white too. So I'm going to give that a go and see. But then I want to make sure that my rectangle is in front of my vector. So I'm going to take that vector and I'm going to drag it down here to the back of that. I like it better in blue. So the key commands that you use in the other software work here too. So you can always hit Command Z and it'll take you back to kind of where you were going. I feel like this line that we created might also need another line, or maybe I'm just kind of missing those same rounded corners. So what I might do is I might see about rounding the corners on the actual post as well. But I'm also going to give it a stroke so that those corners go in. So those corners are 15. So I'm going to select the Instagram post. I'm going to put 15 corners in there. And whoops. And then I also am going to include a stroke. So I'm going to make it that blue color that we've been using. And I am going to make sure that it's on the inside. And I am going to increase it just a little bit. And I'm going to go to these advanced stroke settings and I want what do I want? think I like actually it to be on. I'm going to center it because I like that inside curve that I'm getting, and I can't get that if I have it be on the inside. And I'm going to increase it a little bit more, which the outside one will get cut off when it's posted, but actually I'm going to put it on the outside, and then I'm just going to, when I post it, it will it'll fit to the screen because the proportions are correct. Okay, so I am gonna take this, and because I want to try kind of a different design, I'm gonna use a lot of the same attributes, but what I'm gonna do is I'm going to section this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything. So I'm just going to take my arrow down here at the bottom. I'm going to kind of draw a rubber band selection over all of this. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to say group selection. This is going to give me kind of a group over here. And I'm going to call this vector design. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm actually going to take this and duplicate it. And now I can hide this first one by just clicking on that eyeball. And you can see there it kind of has a nice little sleepy eye. I'm going to take this one, and what I'm going to change is I'm going to get rid of the vector drawing that I did. So I'm going to select that and I'm going to delete it. Which means I'm also going to delete that particular layer. And then I'm going to take this, and I am going to put a picture in there. So I'm going to select my frame, okay, which is labeled as the Instagram post 1. And I'm going to go to where it says fill. And instead of having this lovely color in the background, I am going to go to where it says image here. You notice that there's also a gradient option. And I'm going to click image. And then I'm going to say upload from computer. And I happen to already have an image prepared that I brought into Photoshop. And I made one of these books remain color and kind of took the rest and put them in black and white. So what I'm going to do is I am going to kind of start to move some of these other things around. So I am going to take this right up and I'm going to move it here. I'm going to make it smaller and kind of be able to fit into that book. I'm also going to take the title and I'm going to split it up a little bit. So obviously this is featuring the typography. So I'm going to take that out of there. I'm going to create my text tool. I'm going to put that up here and I'm going to move it down a little bit, and I'm also going to rotate it to line it up with the book. So I'm going to say the typography, and this color doesn't feel right to me anymore, so I am going to turn it into black. And then I'm going to take Paul Rand's name and I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to move this down, and also rotate it so that it lines up with the book. And I actually might even center it. I am also going to make that black. And I'm also going to make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to take my type tool. Oops. I'm going to create another text box. This is going to be for Paul Rand's name. And this one, I'm going to make larger. I'm also going to capitalize it, which I can do right here. And feeling like this needs to kind of move up here, and this needs to be in here a little bit. Although I'm not sure that I want sometimes if you have things that are labeled, it might be helpful to kind of select them on the layers panel. I like the way that fits right in there. So again, this Lewis Blackwell keeps getting a little stuck. So I'm going to put this over here. Okay. So I'm going to take that outline off of the stroke. So like when I want to take something off over here on the sidebar, there's a little minus sign, and that allows us to get rid of things. So I'm going to now focus on this wit and wisdom. This definitely needs to be a darker color, so I'm thinking I'm going to make it black. It also is no longer working in this thin option, so I'm going to go with, I don't even know if this typeface is really working anymore, so I might kind of look for a different option. Okay, so once I've kind of like pulled together a design, you know, I've got these two different options that I've kind of played around with, and so these two different designs, what I'm going to do is I am going to, okay, so I have two different designs. What I'm going to do so that I can export both of them is I'm going to go up here and add a new page. I am going to take the page, I'm going to rename this one because one of them I'm going to have a vector kind of creation, and then the second one I'm going to call this one Paul Rand, and I'm going to call it raster because I used a photograph. So I'm going to go back to this first one. This design is the hiding one. This design is the vector one. So I'm going to take everything here and I am going to select that and I'm going to drag it into there. So, whoops. Actually, I'm going to copy it. Nope, I'm going to get rid of it. Oh, sorry. Instead of copying it, I cut it, which is Command X, which you can also go up here and go to edit, and you can copy it. I don't see the thing here, but basically you can copy and paste it and then delete it. So now I've got in my vector one, I've got my vector one, and in my raster one, I've got my raster one. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to select the vector one, and then I'm going to go to the drop down, and I'm going to say file and export. I'm going to just say export. Oh, I have to select the frame first. So I'm going to select my frame, and then I'm going to go to the Figma, and I'm going to say file, and I'm going to hit export. Okay, so to export this, I'm going to select on the frame that I'm working for. So right now it's the Paul Rand vector. I'm going to go down here to where it says export, and there's a little plus sign. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to, I don't need this to be any different in size, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. And I'm going to choose, for this one, I'm just going to choose a PNG. You'll notice you have a JPEG, SVG, PDF. I'm going to just say PNG, and then I'm going to say export vector design. That is going, I'm going to rename this Paul Rand vector, and I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to go over to the raster image that I did. I'm going to go to the same thing at the bottom, export. This one I'm going to do a JPEG, and then I'm going to say export vector design, and I'm going to change this again to Paul Rand and raster. You can name it whatever you want. In this case, you are working on the typographic hierarchy, but just to kind of show you what those look like, I am going to pull those up. And here is what the final looks like. So that's a file that we can go ahead and put right onto Instagram. And then I'm also going to show you the other one as soon as I am able to find it. Here it is. And that one is there. Okay. So basically, just to kind of wrap up what we did, we created frames, we added text, we added images. You can put an image inside of anything. You get that with like the fill. We also use some of the positioning and alignments. We added a stroke. You can add effects if you want to either the text or any graphics like shapes that you make. And then the biggest thing that I want you to try using when you're in Figma is that when you right click and you're copying and pasting the properties. So basically taking colors, typeface, maybe if you create an effect, it would copy those as well and pasting it onto something else just so that you can have an idea as to how that works. And that's basically it for this exercise. When you're done, you can go up to where it says share and basically you can just copy that link and then that's what you would send it to me. And that's how you're going to turn this in. You can also actually try exporting those as a JPEG or a PNG. You only have to do one version. I just did 2 different ones to kind of show you what that would look like. All right. Hope that this has made it a little bit easier and good luck.